So a very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you very much for making time to join us in today's edition. My name is Ernest Alaazy, and I am a member of the professional body IOSH, having a passion to help and engage with co-workers in making and then ensuring that the workplace remains safe for everyone. I have a little over a decade experience in the oil and gas operational field, and then with safety, with a very good interest in sustainability. I have worked with about 3 oil companies throughout my career, and now transition to the warehousing area, where engagement is one of the key things. Today, I'm here to share with you one of the most difficult, but everyone seems to manage and then try to always push forth to making it a reality. We want to discuss how to avoid, I call it subconscious biases, because I know most people talk about implicit and unconscious bias and things, but I believe that everything that comes through our mouth has already been processed before. And the subconscious part of our mind definitely keeps those things and certainly are not readily available to be released. And that when you say it, you think about it later and say, wow, that was unconscious. But ideally and truthfully, that was very, very conscious, but it came from your subconscious mind. So in avoiding the subconscious biases, then we'll look at how to drive positive diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is one of the challenges that we are all facing as an industry, and how these things impact our decision when it comes to occupational health and safety. Now look at the WHS code of conduct and how we as professionals can really make an impact in the society. When you go to any workplace to have a successful HSC or WHS, what we can do is just one thing, is to have positive engagement. And you agree that every successful occupational health or environmental health and safety professional has about 80%, should have about 80% of the people side of life. And that is what can drive the change and then lead to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So today our discussion will focus on the following. I call it goals for the day. We will discuss and understand the various forms of biases. We will look at how to uncover the effect of these biases in the workplace health and safety decision making. And then we will also work to understand our role in mitigating these biases, and within ourselves and also our colleagues. And then we'll also try to explore avenues to help transition from the subconscious mind and unconscious biases to a conscious state. And I think that is where we all want to be. And then from there, we'll also look at the benefit we derive from being conscious and promoting DEI in our workplace and beyond. There will be something small for the team to engage, because I call this a discussion and not a presentation. So we will have an engagement portion where we give ourselves a minute to think about few things, and then we all discuss and conclude. I believe that this is going to be a good moment for us, and stay tuned whilst we move on. So we have a few definitions. Just as I introduced it by saying the subconscious, that part of the mind that is like, I don't know how to put it, but consciously, informations are kept there. So just as in a conversation, a long conversation, you end up with maybe half of the information with you immediately. The rest of the information is not going anywhere. It's sitting somewhere in your subconscious mind. And that is what is currently not in focal awareness. So sometimes you make a statement and before you realize, you say, had I known, I shouldn't have said this or that. And that is what mostly we push it to the point where we say it is part of our unconscious acts. And we look at what the unconscious act actually means. You know, the mind consists of the processes in the mind that automatically, sometimes you don't control it. And just as I said earlier on, this information sits there, but you never controlled it. And before you realize, you spit it out. And once you spit it out, it becomes something to clean. And that is what we don't want. And as we all know, biases has remained a canker in the world. And that is what we're all fighting. People perceive things instead of asking. I always say it is okay to ask, especially names of people. If you don't know how to pronounce it, it is okay to ask. Please, how is your name pronounced? And I think most people will be very, very ready to tell you or to pronounce their name to you than to go ahead. And then we all face a lot of unfair treatment. These are certainly biases in a workplace that we all know. Now look at the different types of biases. We have, scholars say we have over 150 types of biases, but today we'll narrow our discussion down to a few of them. Now look at race as bias. How many times haven't you encountered situations where people talk about color of hair? Someone looks at you and say, oh, looking at your color, maybe you are coming from Gambia, you are coming from Ghana, you're coming from Nigeria. These are all biases that we don't usually know of. And you look at someone white, one say, oh no, this one looks like an Indian, looks like a Chinese. How do you just determine from the color? You look at gender. Gender is one of the problems that we are having right now. Now, we are in a world where I've been, so my village, there is a situation where like females cannot own farmlands. This is a big bias there. Why can't female own farmlands? And that is what we are pushing for. Now we go to work and it tells you some works are for men, some works are for women. And we have to bridge the gap. Then we can see that in the occupational health and safety field, we are having a lot of female, which is very good. And when we look at the gender, we look at some workplaces. The difficulty is that a man and a woman doing the same work and a man earns a little over what the female earns. Why so? We have to all discuss it. We have physical characteristics as biases. Sometimes we tell you that, especially when those of us who attended the local schools, they will tell you, oh, shortest in front, tallest at the back. These are biases. What makes the tallest special to stay at the back? So these are all things. And sometimes if you are not muscular, you are not allowed to do a certain type of job. And all these things are differences that we have to kick out as professionals. Political references, like preferences. What haven't we seen in this world of ours? Now, someone will say, oh, before you can become successful, you have to get some connections with the ruling parties or the governance body. What are we doing? And sometimes before you can even go into a certain space to have a discussion, you have to know someone, you have to be connected politically before you can even have access to some places. So it's also like canker. Now education, that you all agree. Sometimes occupational health and safety persons and then HR, when they are flipping through CV resumes, and then they look at it, oh, this one is from Harvard. Oh yeah, that person should be very good. And then you put it there. There is already bias, maybe unconsciously, but it's already there. What makes that person from that side so special? We have to look at it. So it is all about being objective and then trying to dive deep and then make things out of reality and know that circumstances that comes up within this educational field doesn't always merit what we perceive, but tackling them objectively, we can dive deep to make sure that we are hiring the right people for everything that we do. Now we look at religion. Now, when we look at religion, what happens? Sometimes some people tell you, wow, I don't deal with Muslims. Look at that. What is so special about you that you don't deal with Muslims? Someone will say, oh, I don't like Buddhists. These are our religions. So we have to embrace all these fields and then know that we are in one world. That is what we have to understand. The fact that the geographical locations has changed our way of doing things, it doesn't mean that we are not equal. If you bring the knife out, cut your hand, you get the same blood. I've not seen anyone with yellow or black blood before. Everyone has red blood. Now look at marital status. We are facing these biases at workplace a lot. Sometimes they say that you cannot be in the same workplace with your wife. Sometimes you have a discussion and then they'll tell you, oh, this is for marriage couples. This discussion is for marriage couples. These are all biases that we don't see. Now, ethnic heritage. Now I can say, oh, I'm from the Imo State, and Imo State, this is how we do things. And someone will say, oh, I'm from the northern region, this is how we do things. And then someone will say, I'm from the Kaduna State, and this is how we do things. And then also, when you dive deep to the clan that you come from, someone will say, oh, this is my heritage. This is how we do things. And then, in a way, it affects the entire people around the scope. Now, age. How many times haven't you faced this from home? That they'll be discussing things and tell you, hey, go away, go out of the room. This is not for children. And then sometimes at the workplace, no matter what you do, especially the setting that we find ourselves, there is a problem of age. Now, elders have never committed crime before. I've not seen it in a setting where I come from, because if you have a problem with the aged, whatever the problem is, no one will listen to the lesser side. They will all go and apologize. That is what you'll be told. These are biases. If we were allowed to dive deep and then find out what really caused whatever thing that needs to be done, I think that would have been perfect and then good for all of us. Now look at income. Just as I mentioned first, you can be in a scope, the same work scope, the same standard of work, but people get different pay to the same thing. Now someone works with maybe Port Harcourt shipping line, and then someone works in the Tema oil shipping. All of us work at sea. We work at the port. We do the same job. Why do you take more money than the other? Is it because you know someone? Is it because of work experience? Now that one comes in there. Now look at, we've already touched on geographic region. Now the sexual orientation. Now we have a lot of people. Now someone decides to orient their sexuality and then call themselves maybe female or male or anything. We have to allow them also play their role and then embrace them in the society. That is where DEI comes in, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. The fact that they have made personal decisions that benefits them on that side, we have to embrace it. That's their decision. And the only thing we can do is to just include them in our workspace. And then we look at mental characteristics. Sometimes mental stress alone can lead to a lot of things. And then someone will just go, this guy is not in the right state of mind. How did you know? Someone just look at you and then after your statement, then they'll tell you, oh, you're not in the right state of mind. How did you know? Now we have a lot of them, the different types. We can look at the anchorage and then the recency bias, people paying attention or putting more weight on specific piece of information above the rest. The fact that the guy said, oh, I saw him picking the thing, that is all, that alone can say that the person caused that crime. And then we have to investigate in there with that piece of information without going further to find out what led to that. We look at the sunk cost bias, making choices that support past decision. Because 10 years ago, I made a mistake. Do you want to base this decision today on that 10 years ago? No, it's not helping us. And because my first day at work, I caused an incident at the fuel gantry. Because of that, you want to tell me that, oh, this guy has never been safe. The first day he came here, he's been caught, he has caused a lot of things.
You don't make relation to what is past. Let's look at what is the present and then discuss and then move on. The halo effect. Well, admiration. You all agree that sometimes at the workplace, people admire others than definitely it's happening, then you all agree. And they end up doing things that they never intended doing, giving merits. And then it moves into the favoritism and things. We look at the incentive cost bias. I think these are all many authority bias, the Horn effect, status quo, and then the overconfidence bias. These are all things that are affecting us in our society. Now, bias. We continue with the affinitive bias, people trying to, warm up in the people of themselves. Now, just as I mentioned the education, someone will say that, oh, the fact that I completed KNUST, I have most of my friends from KNUST, and I felt comfortable staying with the KNUST people. This is bias because of that group, or because I come from Kaduna State. I want to have my friends all from Kaduna. It doesn't help. And because I am a Gan, I want to keep all my friends as Gan. This doesn't help. Perception, the tendency to form stereotypes. And some people assume for you, the fact that you are a Rastafarian in my community means you're a bad person. This is where we are. The fact that the lady has dressed the way they have dressed, or the gentleman has dressed the way they have dressed, it means they are bad people in the society. The fact that the person is at workplace and mistakenly had a phone or have the earpiece, the earbud in their ear, maybe they forgot it in their ear, and then their phones are in there on their desks, and they are walking on around the country. At the sight of the earbud, you just perceive that, oh, they have phone there and they are not supposed to use phone in that area. No, we can always discuss and then find out the root cause. And then we can look at the confirmation bias. Now let's move to the effects of biases in the workplace health and safety decision making. How are we all affected in this way? Now you remember, maybe somehow, somewhere, sometime, it happened to you. Now, when it affects objectivity of our investigation, how? Now, because everyone is pointing to one person that this is what happened. This person was standing at X point when the whole thing happened. Now I want to point all fingers. And now it takes us off from the point where we can dive deep, that we can take a second look at the issue, that we can gather a lot of information and make objective, outcome from the investigation. And because of affiliation, because of perception, because of, let's say, experience, because of education, because of affirmative, like being so glued to some set of people when it comes to investigation, when those people are involved in the problem, that investigation is always done shallow. And sometimes we end up not seeing the investigation report, not at all. And then they will tell you it's still under review. We have had situations where investigative report from Health and Safety Department has stayed forever and it never comes. And where are we with that? That is not helping us, because health and safety, as I've always mentioned, is about people. So if you don't eliminate the biases in you, it means that you can never be successful as health and safety personnel. And that is what we have to look into. Fear of reporting incidents. Now look at the poor soul sitting down. Now everybody is pointing to that person that, yes, you did it, you did it, you did it. This is bias. And when it happens that way, and then this poor person comes out of that situation, what happens to us? It means that you can never have them at all doing any other thing in helping. Because when they report issues, even where the issue is going to end, they don't know, because it goes back to affecting the objectivity of it. Because if I report that the health and safety manager's friend has done this, it doesn't go anywhere. And then maybe I'll end up receiving warnings. I know most of you have had some of these encounters before. Now, missing talent in recruitment process, because people don't have a certain X number of years in experience, they cannot recruit them. Because people couldn't attend a certain school, they cannot recruit them, because while they were flipping through, they saw Harvard, they saw K University, they saw Obafemi Awolowo University, and then they say, oh, now let's look through. Oh, I think we have to go for this one because I attended this school and I believe that they should be very good. These are biases that we can kick out, because I've always said that health and safety has to do with the mindset, the preparedness to do something, to do the job, how to engage. So if you have someone who has the people side, certification, education can always be added to that person to create the difference. So let's prioritize their passion and desire for the occupational health and safety. And that can drive the change. Any other thing, we can always help get them in place. Fail to respond to real threats and weakness. Because of biases, it blinds us. We perceive things, and then we miss the actual root cause, so that in the end, we miss the threat and the weakness. Unproductive engagement. Health and safety has to do with really talking to people, discussing matters. You can have your JSs, you can have your risk assessment, you can have your policies, you can have your procedures. Who will implement those procedures? It is the people at the workplace. So what are we doing? We have to engage. Now, if I feel that there is biases in this workplace, do you think you can engage me to really understand what you want to sell to me? That doesn't work. So it will be very good to eliminate these biases so that we can have productive engagement. We have a welcoming environment where people are ready to input, where people are ready to share their thoughts. And this is the best way we can drive our occupational health and safety decisions. And workplace with health and safety and HR should be one. That is where you can drive, because the human resource department takes care of connection with the human aspect. And for you as the health and safety person to win, what do? You have to get glue. You have to get soaked into this. And how do you get soaked into this? When you pick grudges with people, when you have biases. And then we say that, oh, the administrative body, the HR team, they don't like wearing safety boots. It happens. Have you engaged them? Have you discussed with them? Have you assessed their area to see whether they really need that? No. So we have a role to play. And the role to play at this moment is driving positive engagement, eliminating biases, improving upon diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that is what is going to help all of us. Overlooking person for recruitment and promotion, reward, or development. Most of us here, I think we are victims of this. Because of a problem you caused 10 years back, now is due for promotion, and now the person sitting on the the promotion document says that I'm not going to write anything to help this person because of 10 years back. Do we agree that people change with time? Have we thought of that? This is something that is happening in real life, and it's really affecting the occupational health and safety. And then someone says, oh, because he's not having this background and that background, we cannot promote them to this point. We cannot recruit them. But have you assessed that they have the passion? Have you tried them that, oh, they can do the work, and that when I put them into training, I can acquire the other necessary skills, like getting certifications for them? We have to think about all these things. We'll keep going. How do we mitigate these biases? Since we know that it indeed affects all of us at the workplace, how do we mitigate them? We have to recognize that all of us have biases. We have to accept that we have them, and they are inherent in us. And once we know that, what we do, we offer training as an institution, or individually, we can look for some online trainings and do, just to help us align and then try to mitigate them. So in an institution that is building a culture of inclusion, you have to give training on uncovering biases so that everyone will be aware that this is the area, or we have to run some survey and see the type of biases in the workplace, and that will help you to mitigate them. Because if you don't know the biases, and then you've not offered training, how do you drive an inclusive workplace? It becomes very difficult. We have to stop and think. Learn to mistrust your first impression. Now, someone runs to you and say, oh, this person has done this, that, exactly what you said we shouldn't do in the policy. And then you go ahead, oh, that person again. Already, bias has set in. You could have just paused, just take time, stop and say, no, okay, well, I'll look into that. Thank you very much. And then you dive deep and then really uncover whatever is indeed about the whole thing. Try to gather some information around it and then make the right decision. This is really going to help us as health and safety, because we sit at a point where we engage and then also investigate. So if you don't have these things well aligned, it's going to affect our decisions. Create structures. What are some of the structures? Now you can have tools like survey tools. This helps. Now you have points where people can report issues of harassment, which is bias, like gender bias. We have structures that can address biases in the workplace. You have to set these things up when you are looking at developing a culture of inclusion. We don't have to ignore differences. You have to be curious. That is why I mentioned first, it is okay to ask people, how should I pronounce your name? How is your name pronounced? And then let them pronounce that to you. And then you love it and then learn from it and continue, than to just go ahead and try to mention it anyhow. People pick a lot of issues from that when you miss to pronounce their name right. Now, let's look at challenge negative assumptions. And so you have to have backbone, disagree and commit. Sometimes challenge, hold people to the highest standard. That is the only point you can actually move on. How do you stay with the point where one came in and said XYZ happened? You don't just embrace that and go as health and safety professional. It doesn't help. In any other professions here, it doesn't help. You have the right to sometimes challenge. If you don't want to challenge at that very moment, go gather your information around the circumstance described and then see if it merits any judgment. Then you look at it. If it doesn't, challenge the source of it and then educate people. Don't consciously try to suppress the bias. Someone knows exactly that whatever they are talking about, race, talking about skin color, they know about it. Everyone knows about this. And then someone will just go, I don't like dealing with Northerners. I don't like dealing with Bulgarians. These are biases inherent of us. So you don't try to suppress, consciously try to suppress it. You know it. So avoid it. You don't be too hard on yourself. It is okay to say, oh, sorry, I didn't know about this. It's like just running into someone and then maybe someone having their lunch and then you just look at it and say, oh, what type of food is that? Oh, this is what someone is eating. This is what someone has embraced and taken in. So your act and the look of how
I think we've lost Ernest. So we will hold on a bit, he will reconnect, then we'll come back.
Sorry, you lost me.
That's all right. I was telling them that the network probably went off, so you can continue from where you stopped.
Okay. Is my screen share up? Hello?
No, please.
Okay, just a moment. I am surprised it went off. I still don't know how it happened.
It's part of the bias. When you're an African and you travel everywhere, your lights can go off anytime.
This is how bias is. Yes, we have to deal with all of these ones.
The geographical
screen is now set.
Yeah, the geographical location is affecting the whole thing. Now, yeah, we were just at a point where we were discussing don't be hard on yourself, be emotionally. The emotional impact makes bias. Saying sorry to instances where you bounce into people, like if you meet a typical Northerner who is sitting there with a bowl of TZ, and then maybe also from somewhere in the Netherlands, and then you see it, and then you just, sometimes it will be discussed. You say, what's that? Do you eat this? That alone is bias. The moment you realize that, it is okay to say, I am sorry for saying that. And that helps. You don't have to be hard on yourself. Promote collaboration so that people can spot each other's biases. When you have a workplace that is driving inclusiveness, these things are very, very essential, and that we have to pay attention to it. Now, seek positive examples and role models. This is something we have to do. Get people who are aligned, who don't like living with biases, who are constantly working on themselves to take out biases. And that is the most important thing. Have fun. Sometimes it is okay to go have some fun. Take out some emotional stress from you, because it is believed that when you are stressed, sometimes you become biased because your decisions are affected with your system. Keep processes simple. Make standardized things. So like an HR, or you want to develop a way of recruiting people, and you want to walk away from the bias state, then go straight ahead and have a simple structure that points things the way they are, standardize it, and treat everyone as per that standard. And that is what is going to really have very good impact on us. If not, now Akosumenu comes and then they are treated differently. And then what do you call, Alaazy Musa also comes, they are treated differently. And then before you realize, Odewale comes and then they are also treated differently. Now, where are we? Make it simple, make it standardized. Just, we have most of them there. You measure the levels of trust, openness. How do? You have to do surveys. Hold everyone to a consistent standard. That's what I just mentioned. Double check and improve processes. Safety, if you don't double check, you are just building or excavating a ramp for death. You have to dive deep. You have to ask questions. And that is where we can always uncover the root cause of everything. Encourage inquiry, debate. Allow that inclusive environment where people can share their ideas, where people can really discuss and then make way through. I didn't mention the eat. You have to eat well, because you don't eat well, it becomes a problem, because the hungry man, then you can add it. Once you're hungry, decision making is always difficult for you. So please eat well. We look at something J. Ross discussed some time ago. They said we need to be able to pause and evaluate the circumstances we are in. And this is how they define the pause. Paying attention to what is happening is important before you judge. So you have to pause. And the pauses, pay attention first. Acknowledge or identify your reaction and judgment. Acknowledge that you have inherent biases in you, and you are going to take them out of you and make objective decisions. Understand others possible. Like, because you say something and someone reacts bad, Understand that your statement could lead them to react that way and agree. Once you understand that, you find yourself in a good position to judge objectively. Search for the most constructive. It is okay to pause, relax your mind, and search for the appropriate word to use. If I don't know your pronoun, if I don't know whether you are called she or he, I can say they or them. It is allowed. And that is one of the most important things when you are out there. If you miss someone's pronoun alone, it can take you to court to discuss it. And now, the last one, which says, execute your action plan. Once you have paused, you have what you call pay attention, acknowledge and identify all these things, understood the reaction from the other party, dive through to make good judgment, then you can go ahead and then have fun. I advise that when we have time, you can just maybe I'll drop that link in the chat group later. Thinking environment, it's one of the most important topics that everyone must take it and agree that everyone has a say and that you don't interject when people are having their way. Now, being a conscious person. Being a conscious person. How do I be a conscious person? Then let's go back to the first reflection. We have to pause. We have to pay attention. You understand? So we have to pause and handle everything that we want to handle. That is where we can be a conscious person. If you don't pay attention to whatever you are doing, if you don't, I don't know how to put it again, but it is all about you taking your time, relaxing yourself, and then work through whatever you want to work through, and then do not be in a hurry to misjudge any person. That really, I would say, it sucks. If you don't acknowledge others, it's going to be effect. If you don't understand other people's reaction, it's going to be effect. If you don't search for the most constructive or being objective, it's going to also worry. So for you to be a conscious person, you have to always go back and think about pause. We're still on being a conscious person. Now, being a conscious person, you move from equality to equity. Now, give the platform to everyone to have access to the same thing. Now, if I have access to a lot of books, give access to the next person who should also have access to books. Now, the time to learn, now taking everything into mind, like how to condense the information now depends on the individual, but give the access. I know that a lot of people are facing this challenge because they were not given fair treatment. They were not given the equity. So therefore, it becomes difficult to grow. Create that platform that everyone will have equal access to whatever resource is available. And you see the difference. You realize that the little boy will do better than the old one. Benefits of avoiding biases and embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion. This attracts diverse talent. When you have a workplace where DEI is accepted, a lot of people are ready to share their thoughts. They are free to discuss. There will be innovation. Your recruitment process will be very diverse. You include everyone. You accept everyone at the workplace. And believe you me, everyone has special talent that they are bringing on board. And that is going to drive a positive workplace for all of us. It encourages creativity and innovation, just as I mentioned, because everyone is blessed with a special thought. It increases revenue for you and the company. When there is a culture of inclusiveness, productivity goes up. Once productivity goes high, what happens? Everyone gets to go home with good bonuses. Everyone goes to everyone's point of increasing what you call salaries and things ahead, and then they will look at it for you. It improves employee engagement. For the successes of occupational health and safety, if you have a solid engagement of your employee, you hardly find issues with incidents because we see the unsafe condition and act and report it timely than it leading to even near miss and becoming serious incidents. So once there is an embracing environment, a culture of inclusion, people report the minor things that can lead to serious incidents. It leads to fair decision. It leads to the point where whatever is due each and every person, the person has it. And once everyone feels that this workplace, is full of fairness, then a lot of people agree and then align. And that is where people respect the report or the investigation reports that health and safety gives out, because they know that the health and safety teams are very objective. They don't have biases, and that whatever you are putting out there, people accept it, and your recommendations are actually implemented. But if you realize that you are biases in whatever you do, nothing in your recommendation will work, because you don't have effective engagement. So how do you get things work? Because you have the employees, the people must implement those findings. Now it boosts employee morale. How do you feel when you wake up in the morning, going to workplace, that you feel that there is inclusion? How do you feel? You feel welcome. You go to the workplace the first time and then you embrace. Everyone comes to you, hug you, welcome, offer you good news, try to discuss with you, offer you any help that you want. This is the workplace that we have to drive. It eliminates mental stress. I know people who have gone to workplace their first day and they came home and said, I don't want to go back to the workplace again. Why? Because there is no inclusiveness. Because when they went in there, they never felt they were part of the team. And then it brings up mental stress. You cannot even complete your standard of work because you have to spend time, productive time, to think through how to process, how to even live with the diverse people in there who are not welcoming. And that is what we have to check. We'll move on. Now we have a short activity for all of us. This is a very short activity. I just wanted to spend 1 minute. Think about 10 friends of ours. Just think about, I have 10 friends, very good friends of mine. Think about them, just name them, 10 people. And then if you don't have 10 friends, you can name them 2 or something. Just think about them. And then say, okay, when you finish, then ask yourself, why are they my friends? Just think about them. We have 1 minute. Just think about them. And then ask the why behind it. And then we can all dive deep in it. Just 1 minute. So when you think through and then, okay, these are my friends. Now we move to the point. Why? Is it because they are your age mates? Is it because they have the same skin color, the same hair color? Is it because they are of the same gender? Is it because you attended the same school with them? Is it because you have the same sexual orientation? If your why goes around this, then automatically all the 10, if all the 10 is because of these categories, then automatically bias is in there. But if you have, oh, okay, I have one friend who's like maybe 10 years more than myself. I have a friend, I have male friends, I have female friends, I have them from different countries, I have most of them from different cultural heritage, I have some of them from different schools. Is it because they work with you at the same workplace? Think about all these things. So your friends should be diverse. Once you have diverse line of friendship, that helps you. That one tells you that you are not biased. But if your friends are sitting in a certain cycle because of that group, because of that age, the race, gender, affinity, then there is a problem. You have to check it out. Now remember that there are still some cases where people are consciously hateful, and biased. Do you agree? People are consciously hateful. Someone will just tell you, as for this person, I hate them. It's there. Remember that they are there, but these people still need to be watched for and addressed. So once you hear that, how this person, I hate this person from someone, please pause, take time, digest this situation with the person who said it, find solution by bringing both teams together, iron out the differences, because if you have workplace where there is grudge between employees, I bet you that place is not safe to work, because anything can happen at any time. You have serious incidents awaiting you. And when we work through that one, that is the most important thing. But just remember that it doesn't apply to only those classes. It applies to all of us. Just have that in mind. And then in conclusion, again, what I would say is a well-learned French, American-born diarist said, we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. The moment you bring the point of we inside, then we are very happy that you feel the same pain. The moment you say they, it means you are out of it, and then anyone can handle it. But let's drive that inclusiveness and add ourselves. Let's see things as we are. And the moment we see it that way, we'll eliminate biases and then drive diversity, equity and inclusion. And that is what I want to end with us today. I believe that we have all taken time to think about our friends, and then we will drive a positive DEI in our decision making. It is time to ask questions, and then we discuss them, because we don't have the answers. So we always discuss them, because I believe that the answers are inherent in all of us here. So it's time, and moderator, you can take over, and then questions and answers. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Ernest. Good afternoon, everyone. Please, if you have questions, let's just drop it in the chat room so that Ernest can be able to answer them. Thank you. So 10 minutes for Q&A, please.
Oh, okay. I just saw technological bias. It happened. They kicked me out because of technology. That's great. Thanks, Monica. Thank you. Yeah, it's time to discuss. Have we ever thought that we have biases in us? Yes. How do we work to eliminate them? Please, let's not be silent. Let's have reflections within ourselves and see what we can do to improve the workplace equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Let's discuss. If you have suggestions, if you have thoughts that you want to share, please come up and share them. It's important to share, because health and safety is all about having discussion and sharing, engaging ourselves, and then increasing productivity and eliminating incidents.
We can also use the raise hand button too, so that we can ask all our questions. So, Ernest, once again, thanks for that wonderful presentation. So, okay, someone has just shared a question. Jeremy. So Jeremy said, how do you get inclusion with someone who is intentionally biased?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so thank you very much for that. So just as I mentioned, that we are aware that people are consciously hateful and biased, but we have to keep an eye on them. So if you have a workplace that drives inclusiveness, you should have some structures in place that we can address it, because I believe in dialogue. I believe in bringing this team together and then have a dialogue. Go to one side, ask why you have seen XYZ happening. And then also the most important thing is to have a survey. With a workplace that really drives DEI, they have a survey that sometimes quarterly they take. Every staff will take it. Once you take the survey, you analyze and see where the biases are centered. And then once you realize that they are there, then you have to work on them. How do you work on them? You give training, just as we indicated earlier. Give training, and then people will then unleash whatever is in them during the training. People will discuss it up. And then from there, you can pick some of these ones up and then discuss it on one-on-one. Mostly one-on-one really helps. So this I think this helps, Jeremy. Are some biases positive, warranted? Yes. The moment you say positive, then Samuel, when you say are some biases positive, warranted, the moment the word bias comes in, it means you are pushing it to a point where there is maybe favoritism. The positive impact is when you think that the decision you took is positive, but did you think about the other person maybe didn't give the opportunity to? So if you have standard structures to weigh them, and then you make the decision out of the standard structures, then the positivity comes in. Then you are not biased. But the moment you look at the biases aspect, you bring it in, then it means that there is an iota of unfairness, and that we have to look at. So give the same level platform to everyone to operate, set the same standards, and I think that is really going to help. Jeremy and then Samuel, have I been able to help with understanding this?
Okay, there are some contributions from Monica and Paul on the group. So
yeah, that looks great. So Monica says, okay, biases is very important conversation that we must include in our health and safety policies. DEI, if adequately imbibed in our organization, can help break stereotypes and harness employees' potential. That is excellent. If we drive inclusiveness at work, productivity will go high, positive engagement will be done, and everyone will go home safe. Yeah, there is a question from Paul, mentioning the types of bias and income came in. How does different salaries causes bias in every organization? Has their salary structure depending on employee? Yes. So we all attended the same tertiary institution. To Paul's question, we attended the same institution. We have structures in place that when you work for X number of years, get this salary. When you come in with a degree, this is the salary you get. These are structures, and all employees are aware. I mentioned income because you go to a certain workplace, you don't see that structure. All you hear is someone saying, oh, this month I had a very good salary and my salary is maybe 1,000 USD. And now the same person who was employed the same day with the other person with the same degree, one is having $800. Then where are we? Then it becomes income biases comes in here. And that is the point I was trying to drive. Once there are structures and aligned, and before you take up your letter, you know that these structures are in place and we all align with that, that works. Everyone is on a level set with a structure, and that helps. But where structures doesn't exist, then it becomes a problem. I know workplaces that people have issues, so they tell you your salary is very secret, which is true because it can drive a lot of crazy things around. But once the structures is meted out and we all know the structures and everybody knows their category, I don't think it's going to bring differences and biases in here. I hope I've helped answer Paul's question.
A little contribution.
Thank you.
A few years ago, I used to work for an employer that wasn't very forthright with salary arrangements. So the HR now prints salaries and she forgot the printout on the printer. And the printer was in the center of the office. So everybody could walk up there, have a look, and then they picked it up. So some of us had joined the business fresh, no experience and all of that. People went there to see the kind of salaries everybody was earning, and it was a total disaster in the organization. The culture just broke down and everything else didn't work again. So it is very important that salary is very delicate. It's an issue that if it's not handled properly, you will end up creating a lot of problems among staff because everybody negotiates differently. There might be an agreed range for salary, but depending on the negotiation skills of each candidate, they might be doing the same role, but one might be earning more than the other. So salary, very critical. It has to be looked after really, really seriously. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. It's very critical. Yeah, any more contributions, suggestions, and share your thoughts. It's a learning platform for all of us. So we'll continue to share and then learn from experience and the rest. There is a hand raised.
Wes, kindly unmute.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Wes Tawonari. Thank you so much for your very interesting topic of lecture. It's not the common discourse, and I picked interest in it. But again, while listening, there are a lot of the different types of biases that you mentioned, which from the lecture, it was categorized as being biased. But when it has genuine reasons, genuine, maybe medical reasons, like you said, gender sensitive, what a woman can do, what a man can do. There are reasons. The societal issues, when a younger person or an elderly person can do. There are cultural reasons, there are religious reasons, perhaps. You talk about food, and certain people eat certain food and you do not eat, and you have either your religious or your ethnic, whatever reason that made you still call that bias. That's just my emphasis. The thin line between bias and ethics. Ethics also has a role to play. If you can be able to differentiate, so I don't go feel bad that I'm having bias when some of these things are already from upbringing or from natural environment. You should do this way, but it now appears to be okay. Talk about the sexual orientation, and Christians will have their own view. Why this section will not tell me that it's bias? You're segregating sexually disoriented people and all that. Just take clarity. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, West. So thank you very much again for that. So the thin line between the ethics and then the bias is one thing. Once you belong to a certain cultural heritage, you grow with a certain ethics. However, you have to understand that the party B sitting somewhere also grew up with different background, grew up with different cultural heritage, different ethics. And in between that, if you want to make a call that has to drive a change in the organization, or a call that has to move into maybe a religious body, you look at your setting, set your structure. So if you set up your criteria and the criteria drives that inclusiveness, we say yes. But the moment you say that your, the ethics of how you do things doesn't suit party B, so because of that, you cannot work with that person. Is the output of whatever you're going to do affect the ethics? If yes, you have a concern. If it has nothing to do with your, let's say, your religious group, your heritage background, and then it has to do with doing the work, then what stops us from working? Now we say that, let's say, excuse my language, now someone in a wheelchair, someone who can walk. Now we say that, why is it that you don't build a structure that is accommodating the disabled? Because you have to connect that they're already in their chair. If they come, they can sit in the chair and work because they still have their hands to work. So these are thin lines, which is important that you brought it up. But anytime you want to address what works for you, just pause, take time and think about the other party. How is it going to affect them? Is it going to affect them emotionally? Are they going to feel left out? What is the point in this one that matters? The point is that
whatever the output of let's say the group or the two of you want to do, is it affected by the ethnic background? If yes, then we have a course. But if no, then we can leave our culture. It's important. Since it's not going to affect our output at work, the culture can be there. I also have a different culture. I have culture where people wear, let's say, shorts to workplace. And then another place, when you see shorts at the workplace, they say, no, this is not a dress code. These are the thin lines. So, but if you have structures that handles both and addresses them at the various levels with fairness, once fairness comes in, then there's no bias that we are talking about. It is me wearing my, let's say, jolomi, and then maybe a kaftan and come in, and someone wearing suits. My culture says I should wear jolomi and things. I have gone into meetings where I wear my smock, and then some people wear suits. They say, well, how did you get this? And I said, no, that is bias. This is my clothing. You're also wearing something. As long as I'm not exposing this side, you've also covered your body. And even if I'm exposing part of my body, once it's decent, that is my culture in there. But I have to make sure that however I am putting myself in there shouldn't affect the other party. And that is where we talk about the inclusiveness and then eliminating the biases. So once we can decide to take this point, there is a topic that I mentioned, thinking environment. You can go to Google and then just Google out thinking environment. Once you go through, you read the thinking environment, you realize that it's very, very important to always have that inclusiveness, regardless of our race and ethnic background. I hope I've been able to help a bit, West.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any more suggestions, questions? Any more suggestions? Add inputs. We want to hear our thoughts because it's important when it comes to DEI. It's really affecting most of our colleagues at the workplace. Someone has not seen promotion because of some issues that could be eliminated and then drive them through. So let's all be ambassadors for DEI and then eliminate biases. It really helps drive and then builds robust workplace health and safety for everyone. Remember, we engage human and human implement our policies. So if I have problem with human, how would my policies be implemented? Then every day you have to be at square one. Any suggestions, inputs, discussions? Do you have some hands raised? Edward, you want to take over?
Okay, Ernest.
Yeah.
Thanks once again for the presentation. Could you just share the certificate?
Yeah, Kemi, are you seeing it?
Okay, yeah, I can. Yes, I can see. Okay, on behalf of IOSH West Africa, we'd like to appreciate you for this wonderful presentation today, talking about avoiding subconscious biases and driving positive DEI in WHS decision making. So it was an interesting topic, and everyone on this call could attest to that. So we really appreciate, and once again, thank you. So we'll be moving on now to the necessary information from the central. Okay, someone does Ernest, can you someone just dropped a message on the
Okay, on the group.
On the, yeah, just attend to it. I think the person is asking for reference material from you.
Yeah, Samuel, I will do. I will drop reference material here. So are you on any of our WhatsApp groups? If you are, we'll be sharing the information up there. Good. So we'll share it over there. Thank you.
Okay.